A few years ago, I was visiting a priest friend in California. And so he asked me if I would take the morning mass. And I said, sure, I'd be happy to do that. So I presided at the morning mass. And after mass, this lady came up to me and she was furious. She was furious. And she came up to me and she demanded that I remove a statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe that was on the side of the church, a beautiful statue. She demanded that I remove it so that we could put a statue of Our Lady of Fatima. And so, I wasn't the priest of the parish, and I said, well, ma'am, I think the parish would be very happy to welcome a statue of Our Lady of Fatima. Many churches have more than one image of the Blessed Mother. That's good for the church. I said, and I think they'll find a nice place for it here. So that's very thoughtful of you to want to give the statue to the parish. And she got angrier when I said that. She says, I told you, you need to move that statue out of the church and put this other statue. And I said, we can have two statues. It's good. She says, no, if you leave that statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe, more immigrants are going to come to the parish. And I don't want that to happen. And then she starts saying all these horrible things. And I was like shocked because we're in the church, right? And this is right after Mass. And she starts saying all these ugly things. And it was like, I was like shocked, okay? And so, and they're dirty and this is not their country and blah, blah, blah. And I just went on and on saying all kinds of stuff. And so at some point, I was trying to be as nice as I could. And I asked her if she didn't see that her attitudes were racist. Well, and she said, well, you don't know what country you're in. And people have been in my face, but nobody's ever cussed me before, This woman was upset, and she was so angry, she just, you could tell her veins wanted to pop up, and she just walked away angry. Now, the reason I'm saying this story is this. If this is the way we treat each other in the church, how do we treat each other outside the church? Which is important because people notice. People will notice. And that's what Jesus is teaching his disciples in the gospel today. He says, when you go out, and he sent them all out, you've got to witness to the gospel with your lives. And that causes us to change the ways so that everything about our lives says something about Jesus all the time, everywhere. This is how the world knows that Jesus is present among us. They notice it in you. We can't be like everybody else in the world and have the same attitudes that everybody else has in the world. We have to stand in witness to the gospel of Jesus Christ. And Jesus tells us how to do that in the gospel today. He says, I am sending you like lambs among wolves. In other words, you cannot be part of the evil of this world. You can't be part of what's wrong in our society. And then he says, carry no money bag, no sack, and no sandals. In other words, don't be concerned about possessions, your looks, selfishness, and things that are only going to distract you from your mission of witnessing to my presence in the world. These things are going to hold you back. You can't be like the world. They notice. And these things are going to keep you from the things of God. There was a couple in a parish who were given a distinguished award by the bishop. This is in another place. And there was this big banquet in the parish for this prestigious award. The couple was very involved in the parish with confirmation for young kids. They were donors to the church and were always involved in a lot of parish activities. They were always there. But they had a business, and they treated their workers like slaves, yelling at them, insulting them. They didn't even pay their health insurance, made them work overtime and wouldn't pay them overtime. And in their business, they overcharged customers, most of whom were poor. See, their daily lives did not give witness to Jesus Christ. In fact, it was a mockery of the gospel. And they got an award. Jesus, see, people notice. Jesus Christ calls us to get rid of all of that in our lives. That's the stuff of the world. Because it's stumbling blocks that don't allow us to be a credible witness to Jesus Christ. We need to do everything so that there is nothing between God and me, so that I can be empty and be a witness of Jesus Christ. We need to get to that spiritual place in our lives where whatever is of God is what I am about. And people will notice that. We follow a different gospel than the rest of the world. We do. That's why we're here. We can't be witnesses of Jesus if we hate, if we don't forgive, if we're racist, if we think we're better than others, if we're angry, if our ways are violent in the way we treat one another, if we don't respect the dignity of all people. It's okay to do that in society. It's not okay for us who follow Jesus Christ. If we don't give preference to the hurts of the poor, if we're selfish with our possessions, if we live as if we're the center of the world, if we don't value all life as sacred, we're not the same as everybody else. We witness to Jesus Christ. Jesus calls each of us to be a credible witness. People notice it, and they're hungry for meaning. And when your life says something about Jesus, whatever it is, if it says something about Jesus, things of God happen. There's this nun, a woman religious, who took 5 years off from her religious life so that she could tend to her family. And so she went and got a job at a big store, kind of like a big Walmart. And she just had a little cross. She didn't wear a habit. She just had a little cross on her. But after a while, people felt different. They started to be more respectful. They stopped cussing when they were around her. Others started to greet and talk to one another like she would. Even the manager was nicer to the workers. She didn't sit down and have Bible classes with them. She didn't sit down and pray the rosary with them. She witnessed with her life that her life was about God, and that made a difference, a tremendous difference. Even the customers would say, you know, there's something about this store, I like coming here. This is how powerful, see, people notice. This is how powerful our witness is to others about the presence of Jesus in our lives. We need to look today, as Jesus calls us, to see what's keeping us from being these credible witnesses of Jesus in the world, in our home, in our families, with our friends. We cannot be part of the evil of this world. Sometimes our lives are more concerned about what the world thinks of us. We do not stand out as different people who make Jesus present in the world. We don't seem to be forgiving people, more judgment than forgiveness. We don't stand out as different to make present the things of God. We're more concerned about status. What are people going to think about me? Instead of standing firm so that I fit in the crowd, instead of standing firm on the things of justice and solidarity with the poor and mercy and peace and the common good of all. It's a great call Jesus gives to us because people will notice your life. This world needs to know about Jesus Christ, and he calls you to make him present by being a credible witness of the gospel in your daily life.